Most hilarious X Factor auditions of all time. Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Screeny. Some of the most memorable auditions in the X Factor history weren't watched by millions of people because they're just that good. We kept revisiting them in the years to come for a couple of different reasons. They were so freaking funny that the judges couldn't contain their laughter, and neither could we. Let's take a look at the most hilarious X Factor auditions of all time. Before we remind you of some of the funniest contestants to ever appear on this show, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Number 10. Lion Queens. The Lion Sleeps Tonight seems like a weird song to pick for your X Factor audition, as these two contestants somehow managed to make it even weirder. They showed up wearing matching outfits featuring leopard print leggings, gloves, ears, and tails. Instead of simply sticking to the lyrics, the musical duo wanted to impress the judges with a whole experience. They mimicked animal noises, recreated the iconic Awimbowe part, but they never got to the second verse. The first one was barely audible, thanks to all the Awimbowe chanting in the background. Luckily, the viewers could barely notice how terrible their singing was, since their outfits proved to be too much of a distraction. Simon Cowell described them as the worst group he's ever seen before showing them the door. Sorry ladies, auditions for the Lion King musical were in the building next door. Number 9. Chicken Man. 90% of the X Factor contestants end up being lost in oblivion, but Robert Unwin is one that we'll remember for an eternity. If his real name doesn't sound familiar, the Chicken Man probably rings a bell. He appeared on the very first season, and his voice is something that fans of this show will never forget for as long as they live. The judges felt pretty much the same way while sitting through Unwin's horrendous act, but they weren't as amused as the rest of the world. Louis Walsh was the only one laughing. Sharon Osbourne looked like she'd rather be on a different planet, while Simon Cowell had a hard time processing the whole thing. After Unwin wrapped up his squeaky version of Tragedy by the Bee Gees, Mr. Nasty had to ask him for the name of the song because it was impossible to tell what it was. His rendition of Barbie Girl wasn't any better, and hearing it in a chicken voice made this silly song even more hysterical. Number 8. Dancing Grandpa. The X Factor auditions made it pretty clear some of the contestants aren't there to impress the judges and kick off a successful career in the entertainment industry. They simply enjoy being in the spotlight. And what better way to get there than appear on a show watched by the whole nation? Frank Peters is one of those people, and in his case, it's actually a good thing. Despite having zero talent in the musical department, this go-getter was one of the most delightful contestants to ever appear in front of the judges. His dance moves were a joy to watch, and once Simon interrupted his performance to tell him how fit he is, Frank wasn't offended at all. He showed off even more impressive moves, but his amazing fitness routine wasn't enough to get him through to the next round. Cowell told him that he would make the cut if it was a dancing competition, but just wasn't the right fit for the X Factor because they're trying to find the best singers out there. Number 7. Cat Lover. Being a cat lover is all fun and games until you decide to appear on the X Factor with a photo of your kitty. Colin Stacy added a touch of comedy to his audition by doing exactly that. Since he wasn't able to bring his actual cat along, this contestant did the next best thing. He couldn't imagine going through all of this without his beloved cat's Patch. Colin explains he could tell the kitty is a big fan of his voice since she would never leave the room while he was singing. Unfortunately, the judges didn't feel the same way. They wished they could have been anywhere else during Colin's disastrous rendition of Adele's smash hit, Someone Like You. Nicole and Gary tried to make the whole thing a little bit more bearable by singing backing vocals, but that wasn't enough to salvage the train wreck that was this audition. The camera crew made it even more laugh-inducing by zooming in on the photo of Colin's kitty during the most dramatic moments. Number 6. Style over substance. When a guy walks into the room with a pink plastic microphone in hand while wearing 2 pairs of glasses, you know this audition is going to be comedy gold no matter what happens next. That's exactly what this contestant, who goes by the name Champagne, did during his appearance on The X Factor. Almost a decade has passed since his version of R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly, and it's still haunting us to this day. Despite failing to impress the judges with his voice, Louis Walsh felt he at least looked the part. Simon strongly disagreed and compared him to someone who works at the poultry factory. Once they were done poking fun at his outfit, the judges finally decided to take a vote. Something snapped inside this contestant after he got a no from Cowell, and he wasn't leaving without a fight. Champagne tried to impress the panel with his version of Amazing Grace, as the trio had a hard time getting him out the room. Number 5. Unwanted Favour. When Lady O'Favour tried to explain her stage name to the judges, she said she picked it because it indicates she's special and a queen. Her act didn't convince us that those are the best words to describe her, though. Lady O'Favour obviously wasn't around when God was giving away singing talent, and it quickly became clear she didn't have any. Her version of the Ace of Base song, All That She Wants, took judges by surprise, and they stared in shock as she kept singing about wanting another baby. They tried to hold it together, but it was too much to handle and they all started giggling by the end. Nicole Scherzinger decided to put a stop to this nonsense by raising her hand and telling the contestant to stop. The rest of the judges didn't want her to keep going either, and it took a while for their ears to recover from this disaster. Number 4. Touch My Fire. Giving a hilarious X Factor audition isn't simply about being a terrible singer with disastrous dance moves. It's also about delivering the kind of performance no one could have seen coming. When 21-year-old Simon walked into the audition room, he seemed like a shy and reserved young man who's going to be forgotten right away. He took everyone by surprise with his hilarious rendition of Touch My Fire that went down in history as one of the funniest singers the judges ever came across. His voice was mediocre at best, but that's not the reason why we remember him to this day. Simon's dance routine was one thing that made everyone laugh, and the energy he brought to the stage was truly admirable. Don't get us wrong, he wasn't good by any means, but it took guts to embarrass yourself in front of the whole nation the way he did. The judges couldn't help but giggle once Simon was done, as they immediately sent him back home. Number 3. Kiss and Tell. Chloe J and CJ, two best friends with the motto "Go hard or go home," did the latter after their horrendous X Factor audition. But they were funny as hell every step of the way. The duo started cracking up the audience before they even started singing, after Simon confronted them with a couple of personal questions. They were super charismatic and everyone was on their side, but lacked only one crucial thing: actual talent. Their awful rendition of River Deep Mountain High made everyone wish they simply kept on talking the whole time. Everything we loved about them suddenly disappeared as they butchered Tina Turner's hit song. Simon Cowell told them they were absolutely awful, and he struggled to decide which one was a worse singer. The rest of the judges agreed since they all voted no, but Chloe wasn't leaving the stage without a fight. She tried to change Cowell's opinion by giving him a big smooch, but it didn't work. Number 2. Endless Song. Ridiculous contestants aren't always the ones responsible for presenting the world with hilarious moments on the X Factor. The editors on this show are capable of transforming the most boring moments into a couple of minutes of pure joy, and that's exactly what they did here. After receiving a clip of a contestant with no charisma, talent, or personality, they found a way to do their magic and put it to some good use. Francesco's rendition of the song "You Raise Me Up" might have been the most boring thing the judges have ever seen, but the audience didn't feel the same way. His audition was accompanied by the shots of empty waiting rooms, seasons changing, and an alarm going off in the distance. Louis Walsh almost fell asleep in the middle, as the rest of the judges probably wished they brought their pillows along. 3 centuries later, when Francesco was finally done, the judges concluded it's better if they don't hear the second song, and Simon Cowell described his performance as the most boring thing he's ever witnessed. Number 1. Happy Go Lucky. Some of the X Factor contestants radiate with so much positive energy, they seem funny no matter what they do. Seyi Omateo is a case in this point. He got both the judges and the audience on his side with his happy-go-lucky attitude, but everything changed once he started singing. His growling rendition of the classic tune "What a Wonderful World" took everyone by surprise, because he sounded like a completely different person. Louis offered him some water, but Shay made everyone everyone laugh once again by taking Nicole's glass instead. You could tell everyone in the studio was really rooting for this 17-year-old, but he just didn't have what it takes. Unfortunately, Nicole's water wasn't magical, and it couldn't make him into an amazing singer in a matter of seconds. His voice sounded exactly the same during his second song, but the judges didn't feel like stopping him because he was an absolute delight. Despite loving his personality, they just couldn't let him go through to the next round and unanimously voted no. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing content, and don't forget to check out one of the other two videos on your screen.